Volunteers in Greater West Bloomfield, we would love to help you recognize them at the 51st Annual Michigan Week Awards. Countless members of the communities of Orchard Lake, Keego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and West Bloomfield give their time and talent daily without regard for recognition. You can help recognize these individuals and organizations at our awards breakfast next year on May 12, 2023. Nominate your neighbor or organization starting January 28, 2023. Go to michiganweek.org for details.
Let's savor these moments. Made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
My Michigan TV is streaming everywhere on Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, and more smart TV apps. My Michigan TV is on your phone too. Take us with you wherever you go. Just search for My Michigan TV on your favorite app store or visit mymitv.com. All Michigan, streaming everywhere. My Michigan TV.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Wondering what to say to someone who's been sexually assaulted or abused?
I believe you. I'm so sorry this happened.
It's not your fault.
Confidential and anonymous help is available at the Michigan Sexual Assault Hotline. Connect with us 24/7. Call 855-VOICES-4 or text 1-866-238-1454 for help. Learn more at michigan.gov/voices4.
What's happening around you? Hear about state events, businesses, and from the people behind them on the Megacast, an hour-long TV, radio, and streaming show keeping you informed on the day-to-day news. Listen in on talks with volunteer groups, documentarians, and financial advisors, Monday to Friday with your host, Tyler Kieft. Catch the Megacast weekdays from 10 a.m. to 11 on Civic Center TV, 89.3 Lakes FM, and streaming on mymytv.com. Watch Civic Center TV with our brand new live captions. To turn on live captions, go to civiccentertv.com and click Watch Live. In your web browser, click on the Options tab in the top right and find the Accessibilities tab. Then just switch on live captions to heighten your enjoyment of our local programming. Thank you so much for watching Civic Center TV.
Let's relish these moments. Made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Wake up, Greater West Bloomfield. Start your mornings with The Splash and tune in for The Splash Live. Get acquainted with people, places, and activities that are live, local, and for you. First thing in the morning, weekdays at 9:30 a.m. on our Civic Center TV YouTube page, or watch us live at Civic Center TV or on Facebook. The Splash Live, Greater West Bloomfield's live update show.
Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID. We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
You're listening to your radio homes for the Megacast, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Today's edition of the Megacast begins now. Welcome to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Keefe. Today we'll be talking to a number of people about topics of interest and importance to Michiganders just like you. Let's begin with what's making headlines across Oakland County and around the state of Michigan on CivicCenterTV.com's local news page. Our top story comes from the Detroit News. A change of pace from our last shows of 2022 when it was a snowy, windy mess outside. Boy, what a difference a couple of weeks can make as we will experience some quote unquote spring-like weather this week. The highest temperatures of the week are expected to pass through today with highs in the upper 40s to low 50s this afternoon and upwards of low 60s in some parts of Michigan, particularly on the border between Michigan and Ohio. That being said, it won't be a beautiful spring day by some standards with rain throughout the morning and into parts of the afternoon. But beyond today, continuing to have some warmth over the next day or so with chances of rain and temperatures in the 40s on Wednesday before I return to some normalcy late in the week with temperatures in the mid 30s. There's also a chance of some more snowflakes falling later on in the week on Thursday in particular, so keep that in mind as you commute about your day this week. Also making headlines today on CivicCenterTV.com's local news page from the Detroit Free Press's Matthew Dolan, a heartwarming story to kick off 2023 as the U.S. Coast Guard ended its 2022 locally with a very special rescue as a small white dog fell into the Detroit River without a way to get back to the shore safely. Usually the Coast Guard is patrolling the coasts, checking for inclement conditions and particularly ice out on the water and other hazards that may be about, and assisting people who may be in distress on our waterways. In fact, Ensign Adib Ahmad, a spokesperson for the local Coast Guard, said, quote, "We usually don't launch for them," that being dogs, "but since we are out and about, we helped," and closed quote. That's when Petty Officer Cole Harper got the call to go on the ice, make the rescue near Greyhaven Island. With all the usual gear and harnessing for safety purposes, Petty Officer Harper approached the dog, lifted it from the water, and then together they were pulled back to safety on the shore. The dog was then returned to a Detroit animal shelter in the city, but may not be there for very long, said Ahmad, quote, "One of the crew members said he told his wife that if no one claims the dog, he'd like to adopt it," and closed quote. That full article, as well as more supporting details from the team at the Detroit Free Press on our website, CivicCenterTV.com, on our local news page. Lastly, making headlines today on our local news page from Taylor DeSormo at MLive. For the first time in state history, Michigan has made its minimum wage above $10 per hour. The 2023 minimum wage will be $10.10 per hour and could continue to go up in the future per state law, which requires an increase in if the unemployment rate is above 8.5%. Tipped minimum wage will also increase this year, with hourly wages rising to $3.84 an hour for those that are being tipped on the job, such as, in particular, those working in restaurants, particularly servers and bartenders and such. Keep an eye out, as a court ruling could actually bring this year's minimum wage even higher after the 2018 ballot proposal set this year's minimum wage to actually be $13.03 an hour across the board and $11.73 an hour for those that are on tipped wages. A decision in that case that is challenging the proposal is expected to be made in February. So we could see as early as a couple months into the year, that minimum wage go up another $3 and some change, from $10.10 an hour for those being fully paid on the hour by the hour to $13.03, and a significant increase for those on tipped wages from a little bit under $4 to $11.73, should the ruling go in favor of the 2018 ballot proposal. 30 states at this time have a minimum wage above the federal minimum, with 19 of those states above $11 per hour. 7 of those 19 states have their minimum wage set at or over $13 an hour, those being California at $15 an hour, Washington State at $14.49 per hour, Massachusetts $14.25, Connecticut $14, Oregon at $13.50, New York at $13.20, and New Jersey right at $13. According to this article, quote, in 2022, Michigan had the 26th highest minimum wage in the nation, according to the U.S. Department of Labor, and closed quote. You can get even more details on the rise in minimum wage in the state of Michigan, where it has gone over the years, some historical contexts, and where it is expected to go in the future as well, from Taylor DeSormo and the team at MLive Media Group by visiting our website, civiccentertv.com, on our local news page. And just, this is the first time that you're tuning in to our program here, welcome. We appreciate having you on. This is our daily TV, radio, and streaming show where we talk about all the different things that are making news across the state of Michigan, and most importantly, and most notably, I would say, it's probably a better way to put it, here in Oakland County, where we originate our broadcast. We are a partnership between a number of community television and radio stations across, as we said, various outlets. Flagship being Civic Center TV out of the greater West Bloomfield area, serving West Bloomfield, Keagle Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and the city of Orchard Lake Village. We also partner with a number of other stations that you can also find a bunch of details about and learn more about their original programming by visiting us on our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast. We are broadcasting live Monday through Friday each week, or at least most weeks. Sometimes we have other special programming that may preempt our show, but by and large, let's say every single week, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. We'll talk about the news stories in a different way than you'll typically see on your local news, in your paper, or on radio, or across the Detroit area or other different markets in the state of Michigan. We take those news stories, maybe give you some details on it, some of the basic bare bones like we just did in our headline segment, and then talk to different people that are experts in that field, that work in that area, that have expertise in that area. So, for example, 2023, going to be a big year in Michigan politics now, with Democratic control of both the state House, the state Senate, and the gubernatorial office. There's going to be a lot of changes this year, and a lot of things making news, and certainly a lot of debate across the political aisle. We have people like Dave Dulio, who comes on our program from Oakland University, where he's a professor of political science and also serves as the director of their Center for Civic Engagement. We'll talk about those different issues, how they came about, what impact they're having on the Democratic Party that's in leadership and in power in the state of Michigan, what impact they're having on the Republican Party. And certainly, as we look ahead to the 2024 presidential election, this is really the year that kicks into gear. And then, of course, we'll have primaries across the state for both parties. There's questions about whether or not Joe Biden will run for a second term, and who may or may not run in his place if he does not. Who's going to get the Republican nomination for president in 2024? Tons to talk about on that regard. And we bring in people like Dave Dulio to talk about that. Another person we have on quite regularly is Carrie Craywick from the Birmingham Maple Clinic. Every Thursday we have her on. This week we'll have her on Wednesday instead, due to some scheduling conflicts. We talk about different topics on mental health. What's going on in our world right now? How does that affect our mental health? What are some common seasonal things that happen? We talked before the holiday break about how the holidays impact our mental health. Certainly we'll talk in the future about how the new year can affect your mental health, setting those resolutions. I'll talk about resolutions a little bit more, in my own opinion, with them here in a little bit on the program, but that's something we talk about regularly each and every week. And then what's going on in the markets? It's tough time financially, it's tough time economically, with inflation having an impact, rising and falling prices, the job market being what it is. It's really a very weird time in our economy, both here in the US and in economies across the globe. And we are all interconnected in today's society with the internet, with faster travel and commerce of all different kinds. And so that affects our markets as well as markets across the world. So Michael Greiner from Oakland University's School of Business Administration joins us quite regularly. We also have experts from within the stock market or around the stock market and investing that join us on the show. Jason Brown from the Brown Report, Dewey Steffen is another person we have on quite regularly. And so what we're doing is we're taking these stories that you get a little bit of, maybe a couple minutes on your local news program, unless they're doing a long form piece, and that's an investigative report or feature on these stories and try to dive in a little bit deeper. What does this mean? How did it come about? What does it mean for you at home? That's what you come to us for. We certainly encourage you to keep up to date on news that breaks and is developing over time when we're not on the air Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. until 11 o'clock through your local news outlets. But this is really, this is not necessarily an alternate to those news outlets. It's an addition. It's something you put on there to get more details, more context, and do what you need to be doing, what you as an informed media consumer should be doing, which is getting as many angles as possible, as much detail as possible, so that you can have best understanding as possible of these different stories, what they mean for you and for your community. And that's what we try to do here, is help you fill in some of those blanks that you may not get in other places and you may not know where to look to find that information with experts across the board from around our community here in Oakland County and across the state of Michigan. All of our headlines each and every day on our website, civiccentertv.com, on our local news page. You can always find more information about all of our programs and find us on demand on civiccentertv.com/megacast. We have a great show ahead on this Tuesday edition of the Megacast. But next, we'll talk to Oakland Schools Technical Campus's award-winning instructor, Jawan Willis. Stay tuned for that. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Hey Laker fans, do you know a friend or neighbor that volunteers in Greater West Bloomfield? We would love to help you recognize them at the 51st Annual Michigan Week Awards. Countless members of the communities of Orchard Lake, Keego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and West Bloomfield give their time and talent daily without regard for recognition. You can help recognize these individuals and organizations at our awards breakfast next year on May 12th, 2023. Nominate your neighbor or organization starting January 28th, 2023. Go to michiganweek.org for details.
I'm feeling good. Let's savor these moments. Made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. You can learn more about our program on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find more information on all of our partnering stations across the Great Lakes State, including our co-flagship My Michigan TV, and find all of our segments on demand. civiccentertv.com/megacast, the place to go for that, usually by mid to late afternoon. Each show day that we have, we'll have those posted on our website right there. One more time, civiccentertv.com/megacast. Joining us now on the program is one of 52 instructors that were national recipients of the 2022 Burl Schumacher ASC Education Foundation Instructor of the Year Award. One of them was right here in Oakland County at Oakland Schools Technical Campus, where one of those award winners was automotive instructor Jawan Willis, who joins us now on the Megacast. Jawan, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So first, if you could just give us a little bit of information on your professional background, what ultimately has led you to where you're at right now, teaching others in our local area who are excited about working in the automotive industry, about the ins and outs of working in this historic industry here in our state.
Well, my transition into teaching started from being from extreme poverty and not following the traditional high school path of being there every day. So I went to an alternative school. I was working at McDonald's. A counselor said that if I didn't show up every day, she was going to cost me my job, which was working later in the evening for an extra 50 cents per hour. From extreme poverty, that meant something. I went from not liking her to her communicating with me every single day to make sure I was there, and then finding out who Jawan Willis was, found out I was interested in auto, and she directed me to start my transition into a career pathway in auto. So then that was going into being a lube technician, through a technician, through a master technician, through service manager, through working for General Motors Tech Assist and Chrysler, to seeing an extreme need and making the decision to start working with 11th and 12th graders at the secondary level for some fundamentals that I felt were missing. And that got me here. And I don't regret it. And I'm staying here for the next 30 years, 20 years, however long I can stay.
And it's such an amazing story to hear someone triumph and go into something that they're interested in, and then not only thrive in that area of their life, but also passing that on to the next generation. So for you, Juwan, given that mentorship that you experienced was so critical to you being able to follow this path that you then went on and into the automotive industry, how does that inform your teaching style, or teaching philosophy, and those interactions you have with those 11th and 12th graders you're teaching at Oakland School's technical campus?
So my philosophy can kind of be wrapped up into a couple of things that they get so used to hearing me say. And one is, to get more, you must do more. And I usually phrase it like, why should you do more? Well, if you want more, you got to get more. And then the other is a focus on doing what was done for me, meeting every one of my students where they are, not where I want them to be, not where somebody wishes they are, but meeting every student where they are, because that was the only thing that worked for me.
And as you continue to teach them, part of what goes into the education at Oakland School's technical campus in automotive and other technical areas across the board at all their campuses is also providing those industry partnerships too. How much of an element does that play? What type of industry partnerships are established through these kinds of programs, and how much of an encouragement do you have for your students to use these resources that are there for them through this school to not only advance their learning but also eventually advance their careers if they're so interested in these different fields?
So when it comes to our industry adjacent partnerships for these students. So we have a work-based learning, CT has work-based learning, especially here in Michigan, but we kind of lean heavy off into it. So we partner in with, I'm lucky enough to be able to speak multiple different languages because I was 22 years in the industry before coming teaching. So I still have a big group of dealership partners that there's a need there for students. So they have internships for working under master technicians coming in multiple different ways. And we do that across the county, across the state. But our industry partners are kind of hungry for new talent because of the big age group or the big age gap between current experienced technicians and new entering the industry. So students actually they come in and just do the best that they possibly can. They have so many opportunities to get into independent shops, dealerships, even some places that have engineers that are mentoring. There's quite a few opportunities, and I'm going to stick with automotive, but we have, of course, the other programs as well.
We're joined by Juwan Willis, automotive instructor at Oakland School's technical campus Northeast, on today's edition of the Megacast. Of course, as we mentioned, you were one of 52 automotive professionals that were recognized at the Fall Board of Governors meeting, receiving the 2022 Burl Shoemaker ASE Education Foundation Instructor of the Year. That's from the National Institute for Automotive Service Excellence. Knowing the effort that you put into teaching and to making these connections with these students who are interested in these particular areas and interested in your CTE program, how does it feel for you to receive this recognition from a national organization for the hard work that you've put in and those relationships that you've built educating these students?
I can sum everything up for that into one word: validation. Coming to secondary and bringing industry principals and post-secondary college level principals in front of 11th, 12th graders, there's a question about whether that age group can perform at that level. So the 10 years I've been here, we've been pushing the envelope here at Oakland Schools to expose them to as much as they can handle. So it's kind of the validation that, it's working, and then trying to perform as close to Phil Jackson as possible, creating a couple of Michael Jordans, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, so on, and then making that contagious to where other instructors, other programs, other counties are kind of adopting some of the things that have been proven successful for this age group. So that validation is kind of that's all that always repeats in my mind since being informed of this award.
Going into a program like this, into something like the CTE program, having these opportunities to learn from people that have been in this industry and have found their own path, and to build these connections too with industry adjacent partnerships, as you said. What advice do you have then for students as well as their parents if they're interested in a CTE program like this? For themselves or for their child, in terms of what they need to prepare themselves for in this program, and how to best take advantage of all these different opportunities that are in front of them.
So I'll start kind of in the middle or so. So most technicians may drive 20 minutes to an hour to work. So in a career path associated with automotive, the technician or the student in this case must be intrinsically motivated. So my advice would be to allow the student to get exposure. Come into the program that you're interested in. Come in, visit a couple of times, get familiar with the instructor, pull over to the side and talk to some students that'll give you the background information so that you can make an informed choice after you go through a couple of programs, see which one you want. And then for the parents, even if you want your student to be a doctor and they say they want to be a chef, they may cost us a lot of money going down the educational pathway to be a doctor and still become a chef. So for us parents, we have to do that difficult thing of supporting the choices that our students are willing to commit to. But it's that exposure for the students so that they have, so they know what they're getting into and they can commit to it.
Joined on the program today by Juwan Willis, an automotive instructor at Oakland School's Technical Campus Northeast. You can learn more information by visiting Oakland School's Technical Campus's website. That is ostconline.com, ostconline.com, to learn more information about the CTE program and more through Oakland School's Technical Campuses. They have campuses all throughout the Oakland County area, 4 campuses in total: Northeast, Northwest, Southeast, and Southwest. Again, all their information, ostconline.com. Juwan, a couple more minutes with you before we'll need to say goodbye today. Anything else that we haven't discussed that you'd like to say, or other things you'd like to say to the community at this time?
Well, I guess I always like to get my quotes out for one. One of the quotes that I kind of walk by, teach by, coach by, mentor by is to have the fruit, or to get the one that will have the fruit must climb the tree. One of the Thomas Fullers, and then the one that I came up with, which is it takes a waterfall of experience and strong guidance to kind of mess up my own quote all the time because I always want to change it every time. Takes a waterfall of experience through strong guidance to mentor a technician. But those are pretty much the quotes, and I still messed up my quote here. But the income level, I would like to communicate about the income level for technicians that are coming out, because we have some students that come out and 1 month after graduation, they're making $23,000, $26,000 an hour on their own because they spent a year doing that internship and that mentorship through our work-based learning. That's that industry piece connection, how it helps a student that's interested in a career in automotive spend a year to a year and a half while they're in high school working under a qualified professional, and actually are able to put on their portfolio a full year or more, plus the additional year that they would get for the 2 years in the program, that qualifies them to be ASE certified technicians, service advisors, parts counter people at graduation or within 3 to 6 months after, and literally are able to purchase their own homes and so on within a year of graduation, gain enough articulation credit for an associate's degree within a year after graduation. So some of those things are the high points of this pathway that I have to get out because, again, why should I do this extra unless I'm going to get more?
Well, Juwan, we appreciate you joining us, and congratulations on your national recognition, you as well as 51 other instructors like yourself across the U.S. Congratulations.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate having you on, Juwan, and always appreciate our partnership with Oakland Schools. Every other week on Thursday at 10:40 this month, and going forward, we'll have someone from Oakland Schools, whether it be their technical campus or other initiatives they're doing across Oakland County as the local ISD, will join us on the Megacast to tell us what's going on in our local school systems and the supports that they're providing to school districts such as yours right here in Oakland County. You'll find that right here on the Megacast, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. That will be that segment with Oakland Schools bi-weekly on Thursdays beginning next week. And we're glad to have that partnership continuing on after it began late in 2022 and going well into 2023. You can find our interview with Juwan Willis on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast. If you just tuned in and want to learn more about his time at Oakland Schools Technical Campus, their automotive program, and all those partnerships and more, and find a link to the Oakland Schools website to learn more about their technical campuses, as well as all the different programs that they have. We'll keep it right here in the studio with me, watching the Megacast across Oakland County and around the state of Michigan on a variety of TV, radio, and streaming outlets. You can find all those on our website with links on civiccentertv.com/megacast. Click through to those links, and it will take you directly to these various outlets and their websites. So if you're in northern Oakland County in the Lake Orion or Orion Township area, ONTV joins us live to tape Monday through Friday for our full shows. And you can find all about their original programming in Lake Orion and in Orion Township and the surrounding areas. All their live programs, live to tape programs, find them on demand by clicking through their website. Same thing if you're here in the Lakes area, but just outside of our flagship station, Civic Center TV's local coverage area with our neighbors in Waterford, with the media network of Waterford. You can find them and all their original programming. They do some podcasts, they do some Waterford news as well, and they have a lot of great programming there at the media network of Waterford, as well as on the radio, the BIF 88.1 FM out of Bloomfield Hills, the Birmingham Bloomfield area. That's service at the Bloomfield Hills School District. They join us each and every day live from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. for our program. So you can find all their original programming that is entirely by students, from students, for the local community, including sports coverage. I listened to a basketball game before the end of the year, and man, they had a play-by-play guy. I don't recall his name, but he was doing an excellent job, as was their color commentary team and their sideline reporters. That program's come a very long way and continues to do great things in the Birmingham Bloomfield area. So I encourage you to check out all this great original programming, because we connect it all here on the Megacast and tell you some stories about Oakland County and go a little bit more in depth about what's going on in our local area. But you can get all that also in an even broader sense by going to these different outlets and checking out their original programming. Now it's time for a segment we call Tyler's Take. This is where I take a few minutes here and there, a couple times a week usually, and tell you about something that's on my mind and just talk about it and get it off my chest, and maybe start a conversation and dialogue with you watching or listening at home or on the road or wherever you're watching us or listening to us on the Megacast and on civiccentertv.com as well. And it's, of course, the first week of the year, where today is a day where many people are returning to the office, returning to the daily grind, and maybe even getting that kickstart on their New Year's resolutions. I'm not a fan. Never have been a fan of New Year's resolutions. Never will be. I don't set them. And the reason I don't set them is because resolutions are meant to fail. That's why we talk about every year when people set the resolutions. And then, a few months later, they say, yeah, that kind of went to the wayside a few weeks later. Or, yeah, I got through February and then it went out the door. That's because that's what we expect a New Year's resolution to be. It's something that we hope to accomplish, but ultimately life gets in the way. We get in our way. Something else happens that becomes more important than, working on your health or going to the gym 3 times a week, or, learning a new skill or reading 2 books a week, or whatever your goal may be, across a variety of different paths and different things you want to accomplish. I would suggest, instead of setting New Year's resolutions, we set new goals that we begin at the beginning of the year. That doesn't mean they have to be done in this year. New Year's resolutions, typically you're thinking, okay, by the end of 2023, I have accomplished this. I have checked that box. This resolution's gone. It's out the door. I've taken care of business. It's all set. I'm a regular at the gym. I've read more books this year than I've read in the last 10 years. I've learned a new skill. I've learned to play guitar. I've learned to play the flute. I'm going for a walk twice a day, once in the morning, once at night, whatever your goals may be. If that's your resolution, maybe you check that box at the end of the year and move on to something else. That's great. If you've accomplished that, you should absolutely be proud of that. But we should be setting goals, because goals are something you can start now and get to later, have setbacks, restart, stop, start, change, modify, and set little incremental goals in between. The more we've talked about setting goals and New Year's resolutions and all this kind of similar stuff with mental health professionals, including Carrie Krawick on recent shows here on the Megacast, the more it's been encouraged to set these little incremental goals instead of focusing on the macro, the big resolution. And I was at the gym over the weekend, and I overheard somebody, because it was a little bit busier than it usually was at that time of day. It was maybe mid-afternoon, 2-3 o'clock. And they're saying, yeah, it's the resolutioners. They're going to come in here, mess around for a couple of weeks. And then by the end of January, we'll be back to normal. And it got me kind of thinking, but that's a weird thing to say. That's a weird take to have if you're in that environment as well, where you're trying to improve, theoretically, or trying to improve yourself, trying to challenge yourself, trying to get better today than you were maybe yesterday in one sense or regard, better than you were the last time you worked on your arms or worked on your hamstrings or did some calf raises, whatever you may be doing. You're trying to beat yourself. You're trying to take a win from where you were a week ago or a day ago or an hour ago. And when people come into a situation like that, into a gym, maybe it's something they've never done before. Maybe it's something they've been years removed from. Maybe it's something they're really self-conscious about, or they just don't know anything. And your thought is, well, it's annoying that they're here. We're going to get rid of them in a couple of weeks. What are we doing? Those are people you want to help. And that's why and it goes back to setting goals versus resolutions, because when you set goals, you're trying to map it out a little bit more than you do with a resolution. A resolution, it's something you're starting anew, theoretically. You are not sure really what you're doing, maybe. Not sure how to get from point A to point Z. And when you hit that wall, you kind of fall apart. And that wall is the toughest part to get through. Just a moment. That wall is the toughest part to get through because challenges come up, and you also have your regular life that comes into play too. And life happens at a pace that you're not really sure of. And it throws variables at you in a way that you're not going to ever be able to anticipate. And when that happens, these resolutions fall apart. The biggest thing in setting a goal and accomplishing a goal is knowing where you want to be going and being willing to take small steps there. I think the problem across the board with New Year's resolutions is we want it all, and we don't really think about how much work it has to go into making that happen, how much discipline has to go into making that happen. And it's really quite remarkable, because those that accomplish it, maybe they've really set their mind to it and they've said, I've got to do this now or it's never going to happen. And I will not accept anything less than accomplishing it. I won't take that disappointment anymore. I won't take the way it makes me feel in a negative fashion ever again. And they accomplish it. But not everyone's got that in them. They need to ask for help. And what I would suggest for you, if you have set a New Year's resolution, if you have set some New Year's goals and you're already off to a start, or maybe you're off to a rough start, asking for help, asking for some assistance, even if it's just someone that, hey, could you check in with me a couple times here and there this week or over the next month or so and ask me, where I'm at, how I'm feeling. Let's talk through it. Maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a professional. Go to a therapist, you go to a counselor of some kind, and try to talk this through, because it's going to be different for each individual. It's going to be different how you go about it, how you accomplish it, where your progress is. And in the meantime, if you are someone that has had some of these goals, maybe you are an avid reader. That's an example I've thrown out there a few times. Maybe you're an avid reader and you know someone in your office or in your family. It's like, I really want to get back into reading like I did when I was in school, or be into reading at all, because people who read tend to be very inquisitive, tend to have really well-rounded opinions and points of view, and can see the world in a different light, and maybe even learn something along the way. But I just can't get into it. I don't know how you can go. Some people can go about reading a book in a couple of days, a big old book, a big old novel, several hundred pages. Some people can't. Some people just don't have that in them, and they got to learn it. So you ask people that have done that. If you're at the gym and you don't know what you're doing and you're nervous about it and you don't want to embarrass yourself, go up to someone, ask them. Or if you can't do that, then that's fine. Take it at your pace. Take it easy. Don't get down on yourself. And if you are seeing someone struggle, this is what you can do. You can help them, because we don't do anything great alone. Nobody does. And if they do, they are a very, very rare person, and they have accomplished something incredibly rare in an incredibly rare way. We help each other because that's what we do. That's where we see the best in humanity. And so as we start a new year fresh and we think about what we want to accomplish this year, let's not forget about what other people in our lives and other people around us also want to accomplish. And let's work together. Let's try to figure these things out, because life is weird. We don't know what's going to happen today. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what sort of setbacks we're going to face or those around us are going to face. And as much as we like to divide ourselves these days, there's some things we can always unite ourselves on. That's what we know and how we can help other people know it too. We'll be back in a few minutes. As always, twice a week, we're joined by one of over 300 charities and nonprofits supported on the Share Detroit platform. We'll have one of them joining us next on the Megacast.
Watch Civic Center TV with our brand new live captions. To turn on live captions, go to civiccentertv.com and click Watch Live. In your web browser, click on the Options tab in the top right and find the Accessibilities tab. Then just switch on live captions to heighten your enjoyment of our local programming. Thank you so much for watching Civic Center TV.
Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Wake up, Greater West Bloomfield. Start your mornings with The Splash and tune in for The Splash Live. Get acquainted with people, places, and activities that are live, local, and for you. First thing in the morning, weekdays at 9:30 a.m. on our Civic Center TV YouTube page, or watch us live at Civic Center TV or on Facebook. The Splash Live, Greater West Bloomfield's live update show.
Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
Hey Laker fans, do you know a friend or neighbor that volunteers in Greater West Bloomfield? We would love to help you recognize them at the 51st Annual Michigan Week Awards. Countless members of the communities of Orchard Lake, Keego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and West Bloomfield give their time and talent daily without regard for recognition. You can help recognize these individuals and organizations at our awards breakfast next year on May 12, 2023. Nominate your neighbor or organization starting January 28, 2023. Go to michiganweek.org for details.
I'm feeling good.
Let's savor these moments. Made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
My Michigan TV is streaming everywhere on Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, and more smart TV apps. My Michigan TV is on your phone too. Take us with you wherever you go. Just search for My Michigan TV on your favorite app store or visit mymitv.com. All Michigan, streaming everywhere. My Michigan TV.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show looking into all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. You can learn more about our program and find us on demand on civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll also find links to each and every one of our partnering TV, radio, and web outlets that join us live from Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., as well as live to tape and on demand and on replay across the state of Michigan each and every day. civiccentertv.com/megacast. And just to go back over what we are here on the Megacast, if this is the first time you're tuning in, and maybe one of your new goals for this year is to learn more about your community, and so you tuned in to the Megacast this morning and plan to do so going forward, well, that's the case. We thank you for joining us and appreciate you coming in and welcome you back each and every day for our shows, whether it's live from 10 a.m. to 11 or on demand on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast. However you pick us up and learn more, even if it's just an interview by interview basis, as many people have done in the past since we've been running this show. We appreciate you joining us. We've been running this program since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic in March of 2020. What began as a way to inform our small community of our flagship at Civic Center TV in the greater West Bloomfield area about what was happening to the city and township services in the greater West Bloomfield community during COVID-19, and to learn more about what we could do as the general public to prevent the spread of COVID-19 and protect our community. It's grown really into a program where we look more into what's going on in the local news here in Oakland County, as well as news statewide, and dive into these topics in greater details with experts from across the board, whether it be in public health. We talk to people from across the health sector, those in the hospital systems. We regularly talk to the medical director of the Oakland County Health Division, Dr. Russell Faust, as well as Dr. Jamie Tawil, an internal medicine specialist in our local area, about a variety of different public health issues and common ailments we're seeing, or common things we're seeing in our local doctors' offices, and how they come about, why they come about, what we can do about them to prevent these from becoming greater problems, or from you having similar issues in your daily life on this program. And we also look into a number of different stories that are going to affect us over the course of time, whether it be politics, or it be the job market, or it be the stock market, or things that happen in our local news each and every day that may pop up and change the way we're looking at our world at this moment in time. Whether it be a new project in the community, or something that happens, something that happens in the community that affects a number of people. We had floods a couple summers ago that were a big story, and the ways that our local utilities were interacting with the public in affected areas, and especially those that had prolonged outages or significant damage from these storms. We talked about that for a long while. Certainly COVID-19 and the vaccines and different treatment methods and different precautions we were taking has always been a big topic on this show. And no matter who we're talking to, our goal isn't to tell you what the information is, but to dive into that information, why that is the case, why it's important that you know this, why it's important that you know this from a variety of different angles and a variety of different contexts, so that you can make the most informed decisions in your daily life. That's what we do here on the Megacast each and every day. It's not me talking to you and saying, hey, this is what the news is, this is what happened, and this is what it means. We're not like many of these other local news stations that do great work in their own right, we are a supplement to those. You should absolutely be reading your local newspaper, whether it be the Detroit Free Press, Detroit News, and Live. Bridge, Michigan's another great outlet that we often go to, or even your more hyper local papers. So, for example, in the greater West Bloomfield area, the West Bloomfield Beacon, these all come together in a variety of different ways to give you a broad scope of what's going on in your community and in the greater community in Michigan and in the US and around the world, from reputable outlets, from people that have studied and have learned the right way to go about reporting and gathering information and disseminating that information to the public. We are diving into those topics in a little bit of a broader sense, having long form discussions, 10 to 20 minutes with experts or people at least in the know on these different subjects, but certainly aren't here going out into the field, doing that hard journalistic work every single day to find these stories and report on these stories. We're simply gathering more information and providing you some maybe blanket information on that as we learn it as well, and then talking with people that are knowledgeable on those subjects so that you can have a different angle on these things, get a lot of detail, because these news stations traditionally, they can give you 30 seconds on a story, a couple of minutes on a story, but generally speaking, you're probably never going to see 15 to 20 minutes talking about the job market or talking about Michigan politics on one particular show, unless it's in a very special segment that they have at a dedicated time in their local schedule, because that's not how those stations work. We have the leeway to do that, and that's why we do that, and that's what the Megacast is all about. If you're just tuning in, my apologies, got a little bit of a eye itch. Take care of that. And if you're just tuning in for the first time, you can always find us on demand, civiccentertv.com/megacast. Go back, watch some of our past interviews about Michigan travel, about politics in the state, get a little bit better of an idea about what we do here each and every day. And join us, of course, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. on the Megacast for our programs each and every day. And of course, you can join us on demand. You can find us on your local stations. Go to civiccentertv.com/megacast for more information on all of that. And you'll be able to find all these different links. You'll be able to find all of our programs on demand. It's a great resource for hyper local programming in your community. So if you're looking to learn more, if you're just moving into your community, maybe you just moved to Waterford, maybe you just moved to Lake Orion, maybe you just moved to the Birmingham area, and you want to learn more about who's in your community, how does your local government work, what activities are there, what events are there, what are some of those community pillars that you should be exploring to really immerse yourself in your community. That's something we also look into. We talk to people in the recreation business. We talk to people in local parks and recreation organizations across our communities. And you can find all that by just going to our Megacast page or going to our local news page or just tuning in to the Megacast every single day. It's part of Civic Center TV, our main flagship, and they're 90 minutes of live local programming every single day. Dave Scott from 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. on our network joins us for the Splash Live, looking into greater West Bloomfield. That's West Bloomfield Township and the Tri-Cities of Kegel Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and Orchard Lake Village, and diving into some of those stories and telling you about that and talking to local news bankers in those four communities. Then we come onto this show, we expand a little bit wider, go into Oakland County, go statewide, talk to people across a variety of different sectors and subject matters to make sure you have a very broad scope of what's going on in the greater West Bloomfield community. And as we talk about reporting, and as we talk about news, and as we speak about the importance of giving information to the public in a way that is informative, that is truthful, that is heartfelt, I can't help but think about the events of last night. People love to tune in to football in our local community in the state of Michigan, across the US and around the world. It's one of the most popular sports on planet Earth, and for good reason. It's incredibly entertaining, but it's also a very physical sport. And at times that physicality can be violent. And that means it's also dangerous. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Damar Hamlin and what happened on the field in Cincinnati last night, where Hamlin went in for a tackle on Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver, and in the process was injured. He stood back up briefly before collapsing and going into cardiac arrest on the field. 9 minutes of CPR were administered to Damar Hamlin, and AED was also involved as well. And it was a really harrowing event to see as a football fan and just as a human being. And I think it was really well put from several different outlets, from several different people in sports media last night, or in just the sports world, that when something like that happens, we take a step back. Suddenly football doesn't matter. Suddenly the seeding in the playoffs for the AFC conference in the NFL doesn't mean anything. Suddenly that matchup of two giants at the quarterback position, and Josh Allen of the Bills and Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals, is meaningless. And to bring it back to where I was going with this, I think we need to give some props also to the reporting that happened last night, to keep it heartfelt, to be empathetic, to not talk about the football implications of the Bengals and Bills game being suspended temporarily at the beginning of that incident last night, and then indefinitely as they called the game off early in the first quarter of that matchup, but the report on it from an angle of people who care about this. They saw something traumatic happen on live television in a game that they were looking forward to seeing. While they're watching something for their own entertainment, they saw something that frankly shouldn't ever be entertaining to anybody, and I would really hope wasn't. And so I got to give huge credit to people like Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, who were calling the game last night, Susie Colbert, the sideline reporter, the studio reporter, Lisa Salters, the sideline reporter, as well as those in the studio like Booger McFarland and Scott Van Pelt on ESPN, who was holding the game, of course, because it was on ESPN's outlets on ABC as well for Monday Night Football, for keeping their composure, as tough as it is. I can't imagine as a broadcaster, as someone that broadcasts sports as well, being in that position. The closest thing I can think of was in the MHSAA playoffs when there was an incident at West Bloomfield High School where a car backfired and people thought it may have been gunshots, and seeing those players on the field and those coaches and people in the stands running to fire station number 1 just up the street in West Bloomfield, thinking they were running away from gunshots on a school campus, something that's not uncommon, unfortunately, in today's world, and certainly isn't uncommon to Oakland County over the last couple of years. And my first thought was, as I saw the emotion on Scott Van Pelt's face, certainly as I heard the crackling in his voice and in Susie Colbert's voice and Lisa Salters' voice and Ryan Clark, also part of the ESPN team covering the game last night, and the former NFL player who had his own health troubles himself, my thought was those connections build. Because while you're reporting on something, whether it be sports or our local community, you build those connections, you build those relationships, you get to know people. And when you see them in a position like what Damar Hamlin was in, with those players and those coaches and those people in the media we're seeing and we're witnessing and we're experiencing, you think about those relationships you have with these people. They're not football players. When I saw those players running across the sideline, those coaches, I thought about all the times I've talked to them in the hallways at West Bloomfield High School or before a game, or, where we're just checking in on each other. And it's tough to not have an emotional reaction to that. It's tough to maintain your composure in a situation like that. And I think we need to give an immense amount of credit and a big thank you to them for keeping their composure, for not speculating, for not turning it into a show, but keeping it news. For, as someone in the press booth at West Bloomfield on that day with that incident, with the car backfiring at the playoff game, had said, we might need to do some journalism now. We might not be calling this game any further. We might be doing some actual real life important reporting. That's what happens in sports. When tragedy happens, sports is no longer sports. It's just life. And I think we can all learn something from last night in terms of how we show compassion to other people in their time of need. And certainly our thoughts here at Civic Center TV and at our Megacast network are with Damar Hamlin, his family, his friends, his extended family, his teammates, the Buffalo Bills organization, the football family, not just in the NFL, but people at all levels who have experienced injuries to their teammates, to their brothers and their sisters also who play on the field with them. And of course, as I said earlier on in the program, just taking some time this year as we go into a new year and we think about our own goals, to think about other people as well and show some compassion, because above all else, when it comes down to it, when we help each other, we help ourselves and we make a better world. That does it for this Monday edition of the MegaCast. Unfortunately, we had some difficulties with our friends at Share Detroit Day. We'll be back later on in the week. And of course, we'll be here Monday through Friday, each and every week from 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. We thank you for joining us. We'll be back with new shows very soon.